When it's all ready, yeah, you can water it. All right, so today we are in grass prep mode again, hopefully. So I've done a lot more fill work here in front of the house. Those of you that have been following the channel, you know this has been everything from a pit 4 to 5 feet deep to, you know, the house sits on a hill 4 feet above grade. And it's been a long time coming, but I finally got all this front slope really filled in and smoothed out. And this morning, I've been on it for, I don't know, hour and a half now with the tractor with a disc. I borrowed a little disc from my neighbor and just ran through and really just, you know, ran through really quick. I really wanted to fling that dirt and cut it up. You see it's still a little chunky, but the issue is that this is all clay. I have no topsoil left, and I've explained that before. Because I've just moved this dirt around so much, I lost all my topsoil a long time ago. So all we have is clay. I've got one little pile over there that could maybe be topsoil. But I just don't feel like spreading it around and messing with it. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to be building soil. I've talked about this before. I talked about it with hay and the potatoes in the garden. I maybe talked about it. I think I made a video about getting these hay bales. I don't know. But we're going to be doing, you know, just rolling out hay, just thick. Just whatever thickness it rolls out off the bale, that's what we get. And that hay is basically going to be like thatch in your grass, and it's going to break down over the course of about a year. These are already 2-year-old bales now. Well, year and a half, whatever. Year-old bales, so they've already started to decompose quite a bit. But we're just going to roll this hay out thick like a mat, and then we're going to seed the grass right into it. So starting off with the bale big, I'll set it down here, and I'll push it with the tractor to get it just to kind of go down the hill. And then once it gets light enough, I can actually roll it by hand. So we'll try to get some footage of that. But I wanted to show you guys just the prep work ahead of time. I know I didn't show you me running the disc, but it's just me ripping around on the tractor in high gear for about an hour, just dragging that disc, and, you know, just dirt flying everywhere, because running it fast like that, that dirt really flings and flips, and it'll just naturally kind of settle in the low spots. So it smooths everything out really well. Anyway, my daughter's sitting here rolling her eyes at me, so I guess I need to ask her what she wants. But we'll show you some footage as we go on this. What? You guys can run on the hay if you want to, that's fine.
After I touch hay, I have to...
All right, so a little farm fun. It's a good workout, but y'all get the drift. So when we look at it here, it's putting down a pretty good mat. You know, maybe 2 inches thick of loose hay. And that's really fluffy, of course. That'll decompose down to like a fraction of an inch of topsoil. So it's really not a lot. If you're really trying to build soil like this long term, it's going to take a lot, and you have to do it a lot. And that's fine, because that's something we can look at doing, you know, every summer. Basically, we got these bales super cheap because somebody was just selling them. Like I said, they were last year's hay, and so somebody was selling them cheap to get them out of their inventory, get them out of their way, so they could replace them with this year's hay, which always sells, you know, it's a little bit fresher hay, it's higher quality, it's, yeah, it's worth moving the old stuff out to get the new stuff in. So this one bale is going to do not very much, and I've only got 20 bales. Now, like I said, if I really scattered this out and used it just like when you're strawing in grass. It's really thin actually, but again, I'm wanting this on thick, so that it builds soil. That's the plan. Anyway, I've got it rolled out now. This little guy is only like a quarter of the bale left. Excuse me, maybe a third. It's a little too heavy to still want to wrestle it around myself. Well, I don't know, I might just turn it around because it's light enough now I can actually, you know, bump it and scoot it around. These bales weren't that heavy to begin with, maybe 1,000 pounds when they were brand new, 700-800 pounds now. I'm just gonna kind of rip the hay. You don't have to cut it, you just rip it loose. We'll spin that bale around. We'll bring it back up the hill here and just start to try to fill in this corner. So I may have disked a little bit too much. I might have bit off more than I've got hay to do, but we'll find out. All right, well that's it. That's one bale done. And it's a little thicker up here at the top where I started because that bale, it had some rot on the bottom and I lost quite a bit to get it rolling. But I kind of spread that out just by hand. But one pass down and back, that's what we got out of one bale. And I've got to do all this, which is, I don't have to do all the pit and everything down there. I'm just trying to get this front slope done. There's still some dirt work I've got to do down in the pit. Of course, over there is where we're going to set the greenhouses up, so I want to elevate that a little bit. And I'm going to end up cutting a ditch that runs right across here to help with drainage to the pond. So when I cut that ditch, I'm going to end up getting more dirt and it'll fill in against that lower part of the slope. So the really critical stuff is just to get up here by the house and on this slope done. So this next bale, I'll probably set it here and go that way with it and start trying to go back and forth across this front slope just to make sure I don't run out of hay before it gets done. I don't want to run out of hay, you know, doing all this and then not have that done. The other problem is I got greedy and I tilled up back in here too. Because this backyard was really, really rough, which we had decent grass growing back here, but it was just really rough. So I went through and disked it and it's wet because the septic ran last night. So I've got to let it dry for a little bit and then I'll disc through it again, and I'll do that a couple times today. So if I don't get it grassed in, oh well, you know, it'll take, to do this backyard, it'll take maybe a bale. I don't know, maybe I hit it just because I can. We'll see. But definitely got to get the stuff in front of the house done first. So we're just seeding out some winter rye here on the front slope. I'll just show you guys how I do it. It's not complicated. Sure, I could use a broadcast seeder. I've got a little hand seeder somewhere. I think it's broken though. And I've got a tow behind, but my lawnmower doesn't have a hitch and the tractor's too big to do this with it. So, bucket, hand seed it, okay? The reason I say don't complicate it is because, at least for me, this is winter rye. This is a disposable grass, if you will. It's gonna come up in the winter. Works good for soil stabilization, which is exactly what I'm doing here, trying to get this front bank seeded and not eroding away like it has been in the front yard. And have a little bit of green for the winter, right? I can feel it. It's rained like an inch in the last 2 days, so now there's muddy spots under the hay, but the hay is actually letting me stay up on top. I just feel it move under me, which is kind of creepy. But yeah, I said don't overcomplicate it with something like this, because this grass isn't going to last. When it gets hot next spring down here in southeast Texas, this winter rye is gone. It'll burn up in about April. It'll just go away. It's considered an annual. It's technically a perennial if it can survive long enough to go to seed, but most people consider it an annual. Put it down just for the winter to green things up, like I said. So I don't really care if I'm using too much. I'd rather use too much than too little. I don't want to have seed it all out and then have it look real patchy and weird, and I'm sitting there questioning whether or not there's actually grass, right? So this gets done. Might give me tennis elbow, but I just figured I'd show you guys the technique here. I do the same when I'm seeding radish and cover crops in the garden. You come out of the bucket, lose a little bit right there on the inside turn, and then throw the rest with your hand, almost like you're throwing a frisbee four-handed. It's easy enough. Kind of surprised I'm even taking the time to make a video about it, but hey, maybe it'll help somebody. So we're going to finish up this little front slope right here. It's raining real light on me right now, so this is just perfect. It's supposed to rain more again today. I don't know if you guys can see the color difference out here. This hay is real light versus the dark. I rolled this stuff out way too thick. Well, too thick for seeding grass, but I rolled it out extra thick because I want it to sit here and rot and build a layer of topsoil. So the stuff that looks lighter was actually underneath, and I just turned it over with a rake to try to spread it out a little bit more because it's really, really thick in some spots. So that's why it looks lighter versus darker. The darker stuff was already exposed. There's a big clump there. I tried to roll it out and then went over with the brush hog, but it just wadded the brush hog up. It didn't actually, I figured the brush hog would chop it and really spread it around, but it just balled up in it and wanted to stall it. Worse than cutting big weeds, actually. It's kind of interesting. I guess that hay just kind of wraps it up. So, okay, I don't know, I put down like 15 pounds there. Whatever size bucket this is. Got a whole bunch of it attached to my boots. So I might have grass sprouting on my boots in a couple of days if it stays moist. Okay, well, like I said, just figured I'd show you guys that. It's not crazy, but I'm going to try to get as much planted as I can. I got 100 pounds of grass seed here and I left on the front porch. And the bags kind of got rained on. I don't know if these bags are watertight or not. I think they kind of are because the grass seed inside seems like it's mostly dry. But that's why I'm planting today more than anything, is because I thought I got wet and I don't want that seed to rot in the bag. So we'll get all this used up at least.